Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. Today we have a special guest joining us. Dave Friedman is here. Dave?
Hi, how are
Appreciate you being here. We're so excited to have Friendman Amplification here joining the Sweetwater family.
We're excited too.
Yeah, you were here this morning. You did a demo for the sales engineer. Showed off all the
amps. We did a lot of amps twice.
Yeah, nice,
yep.
nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. And I think you were shooting some video demos as well that we'll be looking forward to checking out. So.
I shot 4 or 5. Yeah.
Nice,
different
great.
amps, yeah.
Good. Well, such cool amps. I was telling you a little earlier, I had a chance to do a demo of the PT20, and man, I love that amp.
Just that's a good little fire breather in a little small package.
Exactly. It's so touch sensitive,
it's
so
cute.
responsive. It's cute. Yeah. It's the right size for a lot of situations too, which is really cool. So how'd you get started? You're from Detroit originally, is that right?
Originally from Detroit, yeah. Detroit area.
Uh-huh.
I moved to California when I was 18. Originally to pursue music.
Yeah.
Started working for a company called Andy Brower Studio Rentals at the time. And the tech end of it just kind of snowballed after that. I started doing rigs for Andy Brower, for clients of his. And then that proceeded to me working at Making Music, which was a store at the time in the early 90s, to me going on my own with my own company, Rack Systems, producing rigs and for a variety of artists, all Foo Fighters and Eddie Van Halen, and Steve Stevens.
The all-star list.
It kind of goes on and on and on. I actually kind of forget how many.
Right. All those great players. Right. So you've in the past you've kind of credited Bruce Egnater as a mentor. Was there a relationship there with you guys?
Yeah, in the early '90s. Well, I actually had some work done by Bruce when I was a kid, basically in Michigan, and we. He had a client that had a modified preamp that I heard that he did. And this is my client now. And I heard it and I'm like, this is great. You know what we should do? We should do a 4-channel preamp.
Right.
And I said, this, and this. So we became, on all the very first Egnater stuff, when the preamp came out in the early 90s, and then later the TOL head, we were partners. I helped him with sales in California. I helped him kind of tone tweak it to my taste.
Right.
And that's how I sort of started picking up more and more amp knowledge from him, learning from him over time, learning on my own.
Right.
And just, again, it's just like the snowball effect, you know?
Yeah, right. That's such a cool thing when you can gain some knowledge starting at a place like that and then take it somewhere else yourself and put your own stamp on it and move things forward that way. I think that's kind of the way music works as well in a lot of cases.
I kind of always was that kind of, even as a kid, I would take everything apart and put it back together again, learn everything there was to learn about it, and hopefully be able to put it back together. Right.
So the current line of production amps kind of grew out of your modding amps for that all-star A-list that you're talking about, is that right?
Yeah, it did. It also grew out of just wanting to produce something exactly what I wanted, produce exactly what I wanted to hear in my head. I was always a huge, vintage British amp fan.
Right.
So that's where a lot of these amps come from. But, everyone said they always want, hey, I can have a little more gain. I want a master volume that works. It sounds good low, and so on and so forth. So just kind of over time, you develop the sounds and the mods and then kind of put it in one package, and then it kind of, again, the snowball effect.
Yeah, sure. So one of the hallmarks of your amps that I've noticed just playing through them and listening to them is really how touch responsive they are. What is it that contributes to that? I mean, there's so much dynamics there, whether you're dialing back the guitar volume knob or you're just changing your touch, and some amps aren't like that.
I concentrate on the amps when I'm designing them. I concentrate on the feel of them a lot. That's why also the master volume works so well. I voice them actually at kind of quiet levels. And with a combination of different filtering in the amplifier, not a lot of bass in the preamp section of the amp, you kind of get a sound that is spongy yet tight. So it's almost like a rubber band effect. So if you dig into the guitar, it will sag but then kind of bounce back at you. That has to do all of that adds up to the touch sensitivity of the amp, where it rolls down and cleans up. it all kind of adds up, and that's the effect you get.
Right, right. Do you design the amps to match with a particular speaker? Do you have that in mind when you're starting out the speaker in a particular cabinet, or do you not take that approach?
Most of the time, I'm voicing them through an older 4x12 cabinet, English cabinet that has original Celestion greenbacks in it. Not old ones, but some 90s reissue greenbacks in it. But I kind of voice them around Celestions in general. So vintage 30s, greenbacks in that character.
Right, something like that's good to match well.
Yeah.
What about from the guitar side of it? Do you voice it with a Les Paul or a Telecaster or a Strat?
A little bit of all of it. I'm actually more of a S style or Strat style player, but with the humbucking in the bridge. That's kind of what I grew up with mostly. But I have a Les Paul, I have Strats, Tellys, different things. I kind of listen to the amp, start with one guitar, but then listen to it with a variety of guitars and pickup changes and choices.
Right, right. You also have come up with a really transparent effects loop. I mean, a lot of times in those styles of amps, when you plug into the effects loop, the whole thing kind of changes.
No, that's the
let's just
idea,
say.
not to have any change. The loop had to be completely, you switch in and out, nothing.
Right.
You don't hear anything. Can't tell.
Right.
And I've done that for many high-end players and stuff, and you can't hear anything difference.
Nice, nice. So when you're working with one of these higher end players, these A-list guys, you have a number of signature amps in your line now. Do they come in with a specific idea in mind, or do they just come to you saying, there's something wrong with my tone, help me?
Kind of all started originally with the BE100 amplifier. That's what the artist first played. And then they're like, well, and you approach them, hey, like Steve Stevens, for instance. I'd really like to do, I've always been a fan of you. He's been my client for a long time. I've always been a fan of your guitar tone. And I said to him once, I go, what you're really known for is that old plexi tone that you used to have. And, you're not really getting it anymore.
Right.
And so he goes, you're right. And we embarked on kind of voicing the amp to be to his liking. And he wanted to correct a few things. So he wanted fatter single note lines, a more muscular sounding amp, something with EQ that really works well. So, variety of venues and things, he can tweak it and get what he wants out of it.
Right, right. So he kind of had a specific target he was aiming for.
Yeah, he listened. We played with components and stuff and listened some more. And then he's like, yeah, that's it.
Right, right. Nice, nice. Do you ever have them come in where they really just don't even know what they want, but they want something?
Yeah. They come in and they sort of describe it, and then I have to interpret it.
Right.
and sometimes I'll interpret it, and they're just like, yeah, that's it. Sometimes not quite, and they still don't know how to explain it. Right. So you kind of hunt around. You kind of learn after a while what they're saying and what that means.
Right, right. So working with all these players on a variety of different levels, you don't just work with A-list players. Obviously, you have a whole line of
anywhere
customers
from
at all levels. Is there a consistent weak link that you run into in their systems that you say, if you fix that, you'd make a big difference? Because you also do rack systems and those kind of jobs as well.
There's a variety of weak links. I mean, there can be. Without getting into specifics, it's not like one common denominator.
Okay.
Sometimes, the weak link can be them. Sometimes the weak link can be their guitar. Sometimes the weak link can be something they're not doing in their pedal chain or their amplifier.
Right.
Sometimes you can give them everything they could possibly have, and they're still not going to sound like their favorite player. So that's another explanation. It's like, you don't have his hands. You won't sound exactly like him.
Right, right. You're never going to be able to exactly do that.
Never.
Right,
No.
right, exactly. So give us, if you will, a quick rundown of the line. We have the PT20, which is...
PT20 is the single channel BE channel in a 20-watt format. Small, little head, little cute thing.
Right.
Probably the lowest cost of the line. We have kind of a matching 112 that goes with that. That's a single 12 ported cabinet. Let's see.
Dirty Shirley?
Dirty Shirley. Dirty Shirley is what the classic dirty rock amp. Great for slide, great for stuff from Zeppelin to ZZ Top. Very fat. It's a tube rectified amp. Got a lot of lows in it. Warm, fat.
Right.
Then we have the small box amplifier. It's a 50-watt amp. It is 2 channels, 1 EQ. And the 2 channels is one is kind of voiced like a low gain plexi on the edge of breakup. And the other channel is, again, a take on the BE channel. Slightly voiced different. Overall, the amp is a little more vintage sounding than, say, the Big Brother BE100.
And you mentioned the BE100. That's kind
The
of
BE100,
flagship.
yeah, the flagship amp, a 100-watt. That's kind of the first amp. It's a 2.5 channel amp, shall we say. It's clean, dirty with a boost. With like a gain boost, basically, to make the dirty channel even a little more. Variety of voicing switches, series effects loop. That pretty much covers that one.
Right.
We have the new amp, which is the Buxom Betty, which is totally stripped down. One volume, treble, middle, bass, presence, reverb. It's kind of an American meets British tone. So it'll do the clean, reverbed, good pedal platform amp to the semi-crunchy, even garage rock kind of sound, or anywhere in between on the clean, dirty side.
Right. Right. That's a little different sounding amp for you compared to the others, to my ears anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's not just about, I'm well versed in a variety of amps. So I'm trying to kind of flesh out the line a little bit and give some different options.
Right.
I don't just do gain, because I have a big, long history in vintage amps and working on them and repairing them and different things like that. Yeah.
Right. Nice. Nice. And then there's the several signature amps, the Steve
Then we have
Stevens.
3 signature amps, yeah. Steve Stevens, again, it's a 2.5 channel amp, same kind of boost on the dirty, different clean channel than the BE, different overdrive than the BE. Clean channel is very bold, very punchy. Can be very glassy, which is exactly what he wanted. And the dirty being very bold, muscular, fat on the notes. It's a great overall amp. Then we have the Jerry Cantrell signature amp.
Right.
It does Jerry Cantrell sound, basically. It's got 2 modes. It has a higher gain mode and a lower gain mode. In actuality, he uses one of each. So he runs 1 amp higher gain, 1 amp lower gain, and blends them together on stage. It also has a clean sound that kind of has a Vox EQ, or British style top boost EQ.
Right.
But it's kind of a hybrid between American and British clean. It's similar to the BE clean channel, actually.
All right. And then the Phil X.
And the Phil X, stripped down 1 channel BE channel to start with. It's got a couple extra features. It has a way to lower the gain a bit on the dirty, the 2 different positions, and then it has a high and low voltage switch, which that gives you in one position, a very bold, punchy, very throaty sort of, can't explain it other than punch. And then the other mode takes it more down to what you would normally hear on the BE channel of, say, the BE100, which is a little spongier, a little softer in nature. And then it also has, he wanted a second master volume, just so he could boost the volume for solos.
Right.
Not a gain boost, just the extra master.
Right. Nice. Yeah, 'cause he's not a real high gain guy.
No, he's not a real high gain guy. In fact, he uses it much lower.
Yeah.
But he still manages to get plenty of gain out of
Somehow,
his
yeah.
hands. He's
Right.
got those gain hands, I call it.
The gain hands. I like
Yeah.
that. That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. One other thing we should talk about is you collaborated with Brainworks to create plugins for Universal Audio for the
I
UAD
did.
platform. Tell us about that.
I did. Matt from Brainworks approached me and said, I love your amps. I think they sound great. I'd love to model them and do it for the UAD platform. And I'm like, yeah. I'm a big recording buff myself, so I have the UAD platform. I've had it forever,
Right.
since way back. And I'm like, absolutely. High-end pro piece. I know it's going to be done right. It's not just a $40 plugin.
Right.
So, you know, we provided schematics, sample amps. They worked on it. We went back and forth a couple times on different things. And they really nailed it. They really nailed it.
Yeah.
And I've gotten some great comments from some great producers, friends of mine and stuff, that they're just like, next level stuff.
Yeah. Oh, they're incredible. I did a demo on those as well, and have played it quite a bit and continue to play it. It is really amazingly authentic.
It actually is, and I compared it to the real amps.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
in every way possible.
Right.
And it really was, can you tell a difference? You know, like I'll have a player and like switch back and forth and like, no.
Right. Yeah.
Or I fool him. He thinks it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as you fool someone.
You mentioned that you sent the schematics, and they do. They go in and look at components,
Yes.
and they dig way down deep
Way
inside
deep.
the
Component level modeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty impressive. Very
Yeah,
impressive.
it was fun. It was great. I'm really happy that happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dave, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah.
We're excited to have Friedman Amplification here. The amps
We're
are
excited too.
incredible. I think one of those PT20s in my future. I think it's I'm going to have one of those.
All right, cool.
Pleasure to meet
Excellent.
you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm Mitch Gallagher. Thanks for joining me for Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear.